Hello everyone, this is Ricey and this is Halo, and welcome to our channel. So today we want to talk about the comparison between living in New Brunswick and in Nova Scotia. Both these provinces belong to the Atlantic provinces, and the other two provinces are PEI and Newfoundland and Labrador. Let us focus on the facts. When it comes to gross domestic product and market income per capita, these two provinces do not really fall far behind from each other. I must mention though that the facts or the figures that I have are from 2019, and these are the latest figures available. Nevertheless, the GDP of Nova Scotia sits at 47,000 and New Brunswick sits at 49,000. Therefore, their range really is mostly or almost at the same level. When we talk about unemployment rate, Nova Scotia sits at 6.5% and New Brunswick sits at 8%. Now, this is quite a big difference. Quite obviously, Nova Scotia is far ahead when it comes to employment. When it comes to geography or land area, New Brunswick is actually bigger than Nova Scotia, and therefore New Brunswick has more opportunity to sell or develop lands from different or with different organizations. Now let us talk about taxation. If you live in New Brunswick and you earn an average salary or income of $60,000 per annum, your total taxation will come up to $11,868. Whereas if you earn the same amount of money in Nova Scotia, you will be taxed at $12,697. So quite obviously, Nova Scotia is higher when it comes to income taxation. Another kind of tax that we pay here in Canada is the Harmonized Sales Tax. Both these provinces have got 15% HST overall. And in terms of renting apartment, it is actually more expensive in Nova Scotia than it is in New Brunswick. If we compare capital to capital, in Halifax, if you rent a 2-bedroom apartment, it will cost you about $2,000 a month. Whereas in Fredericton, which is the capital of New Brunswick, it will only cost you half that, which is about $1,000 a month. So there's a huge difference when it comes to renting apartment. But the fact is, you do not necessarily have to live in Halifax itself. You can live outside Halifax, which is about 15 to 20 minutes away from the city center, and that will cost you a lot less. And when it comes to minimum wage, there isn't much difference between these two provinces. They're both sitting at less than $14 an hour. Now, when it comes to companies, organizations, and industries that operate in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, it is worth mentioning that in New Brunswick, most of the companies really, or predominantly, many companies are ran and owned privately by the Irving family, whereas in Nova Scotia it is more diverse and dynamic, wherein many multinational and global companies choose to operate and establish their headquarters in Halifax or in Nova Scotia as a whole, and then operate from there to cater to the Atlantic provinces. And that is actually something that is worth mentioning or considering. If you live in New Brunswick, it's quite impossible for you to live here without knowing or without having a member of your family work for an Irving company, really. Whereas in Nova Scotia is a different story because it is more dynamic. It is a more global kind of economy that they have there. Not that I'm saying that there is anything bad about it, but as you can imagine, there is not much options when it comes to different dynamics or different companies available within New Brunswick. And talk about jobs. Here in New Brunswick, it is quite usual that you will see in job descriptions that a French speaker is required or preferred or ideal, and therefore this limits the opportunity to a person who is a non-French speaker. But in Nova Scotia, it's not common or regular to see such kind of a statement when it comes to job descriptions. So when we talk about lifestyle, really Halifax has a more livelier, more dynamic, more youthful feel to it. It is really a city, even in the Dartmouth area. And if you drive or walk around Halifax 20 minutes away or even 30 minutes away around the city, it still is a city. There are much more to do, and it's absolutely fun. Whereas the capital of New Brunswick, which is Fredericton, it's absolutely quiet. It's very quaint. People seem to know people. Everybody seems to know everybody, and it is a small town. It certainly has a small community feeling to it. So then, if you are a youth, you are a very young person, or you're a kind of person who is used to a city life kind of lifestyle, I believe that Halifax is more of a city where you will find the kind of fun and entertainment that you would want to have. And if you're a kind of person who looks to just having a simple life, just like this, when you sit outside, you have a hammock and you have a coffee, and this is already life, that the kind of life that you want, then certainly Moncton and Fredericton are places that you would want to settle in. So now, if you will ask me which one exactly do I prefer, would I rather live in Halifax or would I rather live here in Moncton if given a chance? And honestly, Halifax is too much of a city for me. Although I came from Dubai and I lived there for quite a long time, I am more geared now towards living a simpler life, a more quiet life, really. And Halifax is too much of a city for me, and therefore I prefer this. If I can drive 2 hours away, I'm just about 2 hours away from Halifax, and go to the bigger malls there, such as IKEA and any other places. It's not too bad of a drive. But when it comes to lifestyle, there are gyms here, it is quiet here, people are kind here as well, and therefore for me personally, I do prefer this kind of lifestyle. And that puppy right there.